Ah, a warm welcome to you, dear friend, and our quiet thanks for choosing to spend this moment with us here in our gentle corner of sound. We offer this story as a soft companion, you see, hoping its simple unfolding might weave a peaceful atmosphere about you, gently guiding your thoughts towards restful calm as you perhaps prepare for sleep's soft embrace. And so, as you settle more deeply into the quiet and just before your device is gently set aside for the night, should you find a measure of true comfort in these words, we would be most grateful if you might offer a quiet like for the story and perhaps subscribe to our channel of tranquility. It is a simple kindness, you understand, that helps other seekers of peace find their way here too. Now, please, do allow yourself to breathe easily and let the gentle current of this story carry you softly along. Chapter 1. First Light. Quiet Stirring. The darkness in the room is not absolute. It's a soft, deep gray, the kind that holds the potential for light, like watered silk waiting for the dawn. A profound stillness resides here, broken only by sounds so subtle they barely register the occasional creak of the house timbers settling deeper into their foundations, an almost inaudible hum that might be the quiet breath of the sleeping world outside. The air itself feels still, cool against the skin, holding the last vestiges of night. Through the large window that dominates one wall, the world beyond is a landscape of muted shapes, indistinct silhouettes against a sky that has yet to declare the day. There is a sense of patient waiting in this pre-dawn hush, a quiet suspension before the morning's gentle unfolding. Within the soft cocoon of blankets, awareness stirs slowly, gently. It isn't a sudden awakening, but rather a gradual surfacing, like a water plant rising toward the light. There's the initial sensation of warmth, held close beneath the layers of smooth cotton and perhaps a soft woolen throw. The gentle weight of the bedding is comforting, a familiar pressure that yields easily. Then, the awareness of the boundary between this warmth and the cooler air of the room beyond the covers. A slow, easy breath is drawn in, filling the lungs without effort, and released just as quietly. The body lies still for a moment longer, simply existing within this transition, feeling the soft texture of the sheets against skin, the gentle support of the mattress beneath. Slowly, carefully, Clara begins to move. An arm shifts, the fabric of a nightgown rustling softly, the sound seeming loud in the encompassing quiet. She pushes the covers back deliberately, folding them down with a gentle economy of movement. The cool air touches her arms, her shoulders, a fresh sensation that chases away the last remnants of sleep. She sits up, the mattress giving slightly beneath her weight. The shapes of the room become a little clearer now, the simple lines of a small wooden table, the taller form of a bookshelf against the wall, all rendered in shades of gray and deeper shadow. Another slow breath, noticing the stillness within her own chest, matching the stillness of the room. Her bare feet swing over the side of the bed, seeking the floor. They find it, the familiar coolness of worn wood, smooth beneath the soles of her feet. The contrast with the warmth held in the bed is distinct, grounding. She pauses for just a second, feeling this connection, the solid surface supporting her. Then, slowly, she stands, her weight shifting easily. The wooden floorboards accept her presence without a sound. Her gaze is drawn towards the large window, where the first definite hint of change is appearing. A subtle lightening along the lower edge, a paling of the deep gray, promising the arrival of the dawn. She begins to walk toward the window, her steps soft and measured on the wooden floor. Each footfall is placed gently, deliberately, preserving the quiet. The space around her feels open and uncluttered in the dim light. Her movement is fluid, unhurried, a simple transit across the familiar landscape of her room. The air parts softly around her as she moves. The window grows larger as she approaches, becoming the dominant feature, a portal to the awakening world outside, though its details remain veiled in the pre-dawn light. Her focus is entirely on this destination, this place of observation. Reaching the window, she stops a few inches from the cool glass. Outside, the garden is emerging from the darkness. The familiar shapes of bushes, the slender trunk of the young tree near the house, the low line of the back fence, all are rendered in soft, monochromatic tones. Perhaps a subtle glimmer on the surface of leaves suggests the presence of dew, though it's too early for it to truly sparkle. The scene is utterly still, peaceful, caught in the quiet moments just before the sun makes its presence known. The first potential for the day's motif, sunlight through leaves, exists only as a thought, a future possibility held within the quiet structure of the branches and foliage outside. Her attention shifts to the light itself, the subtle transformation happening at the edge of the world. It isn't a color yet, just a lessening of darkness, a pearly luminescence low in the eastern sky, visible above the silhouette of neighboring rooftops. This faint glow touches the very top edge of the window frame, catching the grain of the wood. It brightens almost imperceptibly, moment by moment, a slow, steady crescendo that speaks of the planet's turning. The upper panes of the window reflect this paling sky, holding its soft, cool light. She lingers there by the window, feeling the slight coolness radiating from the glass pane, even through the small distance she maintains. Her hands rest gently at her sides. She listens intently. The silence is not empty. It holds the quiet hum of existence. Now, perhaps, the first clear bird call pierces the stillness, a single fluting note, dropped into the quiet like a pebble into a calm pool. It hangs in the air for a moment. Then silence returns. But it's a silence subtly changed, expectant. There's a profound sense of peace in this simple act of standing, observing, listening. Taking another slow, easy breath, Clara feels a sense of quiet readiness. The observation has grounded her, connected her to the gentle rhythm of the morning start. The first light has been witnessed, the initial stillness absorbed. It feels like the right moment to begin the day's small rituals. With a final glance at the slowly brightening scene outside, she turns away from the window, her movement still slow and fluid. She carries the quiet atmosphere of the dawn with her as she moves towards the other side of the room, towards the promise of warmth and familiar routine. Chapter 2. The Ritual of Water and Warmth. Moving away from the window, Clara crosses the smooth wooden floor toward the corner of the room that serves as her simple kitchen. The light is still pale but stronger now, filling the space with a soft, ambient glow that reveals the clean lines of a small counter, a compact stove, and a few neatly arranged shelves above. Her bare feet make almost no sound on the wood. The air here feels perhaps a fraction warmer, holding the latent potential for the day's activity, yet still imbued with the morning's pervasive quiet. She approaches the small sink area with the same unhurried grace, that marked her waking. Her hand reaches for the handle of the metal kettle resting on the stovetop. It's cool to the touch, its surface smooth and slightly curved. She lifts it, its weight light and familiar, and carries it the short distance to the sink. Turning the simple tap, she adjusts the flow until the water runs clear and cool. The sound of the water filling the kettle is the first distinct domestic noise of the morning, a gentle, steady, rushing sound contained within the metal vessel. She watches the water level rise, judging the amount needed by sight and sound, then turns off the tap just as precisely. The sudden silence afterwards feels deeper for a moment. Carrying the now heavier kettle back to the stove, she places it carefully onto the burner. The metal base settles with a soft, almost imperceptible click. Her fingers find the knob for the stove, a gentle twist, and there's a faint hiss, followed by the quiet, rhythmic clicking of the igniter. A small blue flame blossoms beneath the kettle, its light barely visible in the growing daylight, but its presence confirmed by a low, steady hum that begins almost immediately. This hum becomes the new baseline of sound in the room, a gentle undercurrent of energy patiently transferring heat to the water within. There is nothing to do now but wait, and waiting itself becomes part of the ritual. While the water heats, Clara turns her attention to the mug. From a small shelf holding just a few pieces of simple ceramic ware, she selects her preferred mug plane, perhaps a soft off-white or pale gray, with a comfortable rounded shape that fits well in the hands. She holds it for a moment, feeling the coolness of the ceramic, its smooth, slightly textured surface. It feels solid, dependable. On another shelf nearby sits a small glass jar containing dried herbs, maybe chamomile flowers, pale lemon balm leaves, or fragrant mint. Unscrewing the lid releases a subtle, clean scent into the air. She takes a small spoon and carefully measures a portion of the dried herbs into the bottom of the empty mug. The kettle begins to murmur more audibly now. The low hum deepens, joined by small ticking sounds as the metal expands, and soon a gentle bubbling sigh emanates from within. The water is nearing readiness. Clara stands near the stove, simply listening to these sounds, observing the way condensation begins to form faintly on the kettle's spout. The anticipation is quiet, patient. There is no rush. The process unfolds at its own pace, governed by the simple physics of heat and water. The gentle sounds are comforting, familiar markers of the morning routine. Soon, a thin plume of steam begins to rise from the kettle's spout, curling softly in the air. The bubbling sound within grows steadier, a gentle rolling boil. It's time. Clara carefully turns off the stove flame. The sudden cessation of the hum makes the sound of the boiling water seem momentarily louder before it too begins to subside. Using a cloth holder to protect her hand from the heat now radiating from the handle, she lifts the kettle. Its weight is substantial, balanced. She brings it over to the counter where the mug waits. Tilting the kettle slowly, she pours the steaming water over the dried herbs in the mug. The water flows in a clear, steady stream, swirling the leaves and flowers. A cloud of fragrant steam immediately billows upwards, carrying the distinct, clean aroma of the herbs, perhaps the calming scent of chamomile or the fresh brightness of mint. She fills the mug not quite to the brim, leaving space. The sound of the pouring water ceases as she rights the kettle and places it back on the cool stovetop. The aromatic steam continues to rise from the mug, in gentle twisting currents. She leaves the tea to steep for a few moments, allowing the herbs to infuse their subtle flavor and warmth into the water. She observes the process, the way the herbs slowly unfurl and drift, the gradual deepening of the water's color to a pale gold or light green, the simple magic of infusion. Then, carefully, using both hands, she lifts the mug. The ceramic is warm now, decidedly warm, radiating a gentle heat that permeates her palms and fingers. It's a comforting sensation, solid and real. Holding the mug securely, she turns away from the kitchen area, her movements slow and careful, carrying this vessel of warmth back toward the sunlit window, back towards her place of quiet observation. Chapter 3. Light dancing on the wall. Returning to the window, Clara settles into the simple cushioned chair positioned to offer a clear view of the garden and catch the morning light. The chair accepts her weight with a soft sigh of compressed padding. She arranges herself comfortably, ensuring her posture is relaxed yet upright. The warm mug is cradled carefully in both hands, resting gently in her lap. Its heat is a focal point, a tangible anchor, grounding her in the present moment, a contrast to the cool morning air still lingering in the room. Outside, the garden is now fully illuminated, though the sun itself is still low enough to cast long shadows. Her gaze isn't initially directed outside, but rather drawn to the play of light within the room itself. The sun, having cleared the horizon, and perhaps the silhouette of the neighboring houses, now streams more directly through the leaves of the tree just outside the window. And as predicted, as hoped for, the sunlight through leaves begins its silent performance. Dappled patterns like shifting coins of gold appear on the smooth wooden floorboards near her feet. They are not static. They tremble slightly, quiver, as the leaves outside are stirred by the gentlest of breezes, a breath of air too subtle to be felt indoors. She watches, utterly absorbed in this quiet spectacle. The patches of light are interspersed with patches of shadow, creating a constantly changing mosaic. Some spots are bright, almost intense, highlighting the grain of the wood, the slight imperfections, the history etched into the floor. Other spots are softer, diffused, their edges blurred. The shapes mimic the leaves themselves, some rounded, some pointed, overlapping and separating in a fluid, organic dance. It's a silent, moving artwork, painted by the sun and the tree, ephemeral and beautiful in its simplicity. There is no thought of interpretation, simply observation. Slowly, patiently, the patterns climb. As the sun rises higher in the sky, the angle of the light shifts. The dappled mosaic creeps from the floor up onto the lower part of the plain, pale-colored wall opposite the window. Here, the effect is perhaps even more striking against the smooth vertical surface. The light seems to cling to the wall, the shapes more clearly defined. Clara follows the movement with her eyes, noticing the slow, inevitable progression. A particularly bright patch, shaped like a perfect oak leaf, might linger for a moment on a particular spot before dissolving or being overlaid by another shape as the foliage outside shifts. The quality of the light itself seems to change subtly during this observation. What started as a cooler, yellower morning light gradually warms, taking on a richer, more golden hue. This warmth is reflected in the colors on the wall and floor, lending a soft glow to the room. The shadows, too, seem to soften slightly, their edges less sharp. The entire scene breathes with a gentle, luminous quality. The warmth from the mug in her hands feels like an echo of the sunlight, an internal warmth mirroring the external glow. She takes a slow, quiet breath, feeling the peacefulness of the moment settle deep within her. Her focus remains unwavering on the light's dance. It requires no effort, only presence. The intricate patterns shift and reform, never repeating exactly. It's like watching slow motion ripples on water, or the shifting constellations in a vastly sped up night sky. The leaves outside rustle again, a sound barely audible, but the effect is immediate. On the patterns inside, a sudden flurry of movement, a reshuffling of the light and shadow before settling back into a slower rhythm. It's a direct, visible connection between the quiet life of the garden outside and the still atmosphere within the room. She lifts the mug slightly, feeling its comforting weight. The ceramic is still pleasantly warm, though the initial intense heat has softened. Steam still rises, though less vigorously now, catching the light in tiny swirling particles before dissipating into the air. The aroma of the herbal tea, subtle and clean, mingles with the scent of the sun-warmed room. These sensory details weave together the visual dance of light, the tactile warmth, the gentle scent, creating a rich tapestry of quiet experience. Holding the mug, feeling its warmth, anchors her awareness firmly in this serene present. There is no sense of time passing in the usual way. The clock is the sun, its measure, the slow transit of light across the floor and wall. Each shifting pattern is a moment lived, observed, appreciated for its simple existence. The world outside the window, the leaves, the branches, the unseen breeze collaborates with the sun to create this transient beauty. Clara sits, still and attentive, a quiet witness to the morning's unfolding light show. The warm mug, a steady companion in her hands. The peaceful atmosphere deepening around her like settling water. Chapter 4. Sipping slowly, garden sounds. The light continues its slow journey across the room, the dappled patterns now reaching higher on the wall, their dance perhaps a little less energetic as the sun climbs towards its zenith. Clara lifts the warm mug towards her lips, the movement slow and deliberate. She takes a small sip of the herbal tea. The liquid is warm, not hot, carrying the subtle, clean taste of the infused herbs, perhaps a hint of chamomile's apple-like sweetness, or the gentle earthiness of lemon balm. The flavor is simple, unassuming, yet deeply comforting in its familiarity. She swallows slowly, feeling the warmth travel downwards. Lowering the mug back to her lap, she holds it cupped in both hands again, absorbing the residual warmth. Her attention, previously focused entirely on the visual spectacle of the light, now gently expands outwards, tuning into the subtle soundscape drifting in from the garden. The window is open just a narrow gap, enough to allow the air to circulate softly and carry the quiet sounds of the outdoors into the room's stillness. These sounds are delicate, requiring a listening that is patient and attentive. There is the soft, dry rustle of leaves. It's not a constant sound, but comes in intermittent whispers as a light breeze, almost imperceptible on the skin, stirs the branches of the tree and the foliage of the bushes below. It's a sound like quiet shuffling paper, natural and soothing. It harmonizes with the visual shifting of the light patterns, providing an auditory dimension to the gentle movement originating outside. Each rustle seems to punctuate the quiet, highlighting the surrounding stillness. Then, the distinct chirp of a bird, perhaps a sparrow, perched somewhere nearby in the garden, calling out with a clear, cheerful note. It's a brief sound, repeated maybe once or twice. Then silence falls again. It's a reminder of the life unfolding just beyond the glass, the small everyday activities of the creatures share in this space. Listening to these sounds doesn't distract from the peace. Rather, it deepens it, weaving the gentle life of the garden into the fabric of the room's tranquility. It feels inclusive, connected. Further away, almost at the edge of hearing, lies the faintest hum of the world beyond, not intrusive traffic or loud noises, but perhaps the distant muted drone of a lawnmower starting up blocks away, or the generalized low-frequency murmur of a town slowly coming fully awake. These sounds are so subdued they merely form a subtle backdrop, highlighting the closeness and intimacy of the garden sounds and the profound quiet within the Sunlit Nook itself. They provide context without intrusion. Clara takes another slow sip of her tea. The warmth is still present, a gentle comfort against her palms. Her gaze drifts downwards toward the windowsill. It's wide and made of the same worn wood as the floor, smoothed over time by countless touches, perhaps by previous inhabitants, by the resting of elbows, by the placement of objects. Where the sunlight now falls directly upon it, the wood glows with a warm, honeyed tone. She reaches out a hand, tentatively, resting her fingertips on the sun-warmed surface. It feels smooth, solid, and pleasantly warm to the touch, holding the sun's energy. She lets her fingers rest there for a moment, appreciating the simple tactile sensation. The texture of the wood grain, almost imperceptible but there beneath her touch. The gentle warmth radiating upwards. It's another anchor to the present, another small detail noticed and appreciated. She draws her hand back, returning it to the comforting curve of the mug. The tea level is lower now, perhaps halfway gone. Each sip is unhurried, allowing the warmth and flavor to be fully experienced before swallowing. The room remains a haven of quiet. The primary sensory inputs are the shifting light, the gentle warmth of the mug and the sun-touched wood, the clean taste of the tea, and the intermittent soft sounds from the garden, the rustle of leaves, the call of a bird. Clara sits immersed in this sensory field, her breathing slow and even, her posture relaxed. She is simply present, observing, sipping, listening, feeling. The ordinary moments of the morning unfolding with a quiet grace, steeped in a profound and simple peace. Chapter 5. Empty mug, lingering stillness. The last sip of tea is taken. Clara holds the mug for a moment longer, tilting it slightly to ensure it's empty. The faint, clean aroma of the herbs lingers, but the liquid warmth is gone. The ceramic itself, however, still retains a subtle residual warmth, a memory of the heat it held just moments before. She lowers the mug back into her lap, cradling its familiar shape. Its weight feels lighter now, empty, yet it remains a comfortable presence in her hands. The ritual of the morning tea has reached its quiet conclusion. Outside the window, the light has shifted significantly. The sun is higher now, perhaps approaching mid-morning. The dappled patterns cast by the leaves are still visible on the far wall, but they are softer now, less defined, covering a broader area. The intensity of the earlier golden light has mellowed into a clear, bright illumination that fills the garden and spills generously into the room. The long shadows of early morning have retreated, shortened. The garden appears awake, vibrant in the full light, though still retaining its essential tranquility. Clara continues to sit quietly in the chair, her gaze resting softly on the scene outside. She observes the way the light catches the dewdrops that still cling to some of the lower leaves and shaded spots, making them sparkle momentarily like tiny jewels. She notices the gentle sway of a taller flower stalk, nodding slightly in the persistent, almost invisible breeze. A bee might drift lazily into view, investigating a blossom before moving on. These small, ordinary events unfold without drama, part of the garden's quiet rhythm. Her observation is passive, receptive, simply taking in the peaceful activity. The warmth on the windowsill where her hand rested earlier is likely more pronounced now, the wood thoroughly saturated with the sun's heat. The air in the room feels comfortable, neither too cool nor too warm, freshened by the slight opening at the window. The sounds from the garden continue intermittently, the occasional leaf rustle, a different bird call now, perhaps a wood pigeon's soft cooing. The distant hum of the world outside remains a muted backdrop. The overall atmosphere is one of settled, luminous peace. After a few more moments of quiet stillness, simply breathing and observing, Clara decides it's time to move. There's no internal signal of urgency, just a gentle sense of completion, of the morning's observational ritual having run its natural course. She leans forward slightly, her movements still measured and smooth. Reaching toward the wide windowsill, she carefully places the empty ceramic mug down onto the sun-warmed wood. The base of the mug connects with the surface with a soft, distinct clink. The sound is clear in the quiet room, a gentle acoustic punctuation mark signifying the end of the tea ceremony. It resonates for a brief second, then fades back into the stillness. Her hands now free, she rests them lightly on the arms of the chair for a moment. She pushes down gently, leveraging her weight upwards. Slowly, fluidly, she rises to her feet. The chair cushion expands softly behind her, releasing the imprint of her presence. Standing, she takes another slow, easy breath, surveying the sunlit room. The dancing light patterns are still there, softer now. The empty mug sits peacefully on the sill, catching the light. The garden outside basks in the morning sun. She feels calm, centered. The quiet observation, the simple ritual of the tea, the focus on sensory detail, all have contributed to a sense of deep inner stillness. It's a feeling she carries with her as she turns away from the window, away from the sunlit nook. Her bare feet pad softly on the wooden floor once more as she moves towards the other parts of her home, ready to engage with the rest of the day, but taking the profound peace and gentle awareness cultivated in these quiet morning hours with her. The sunlit nook remains behind, holding the echo of her presence and the memory of the light's dance.